Before I take you into an individual chart, in the back here on our table here, there is a box set, a black box set. And in this box set, there are two books. One of them is called Human Design System, and it gives you an introduction to the design system. It also includes an I Ching so that you can do the analysis of anyone's chart. In that, the Human Design System, there is also an index. And in this index, what this allows you to do is that it allows you to look for any single astrological position. And out of those astrological positions, you can know exactly what hexagram, what gate, and exactly what sub-theme that particular planet, that particular object activates. One of the advantages of design is that you get very, very exact information. So we have to read it. It gives you a deep detail of that information. So this index gives you an idea that you can go through the entire zodiac, and for every single one of these positions in the zodiac, there is a corresponding hexagram and line which will give you the exact information. So now we can get to individual design. This is an individual rave analysis chart. This is the kind of chart that's used to do individual analysis. And you can see that these two wheels are no longer here. We have two sets of information now. We have the design information, and it's given in hexagrams and lines. So, for example, this Jupiter, the design Jupiter, the unconscious Jupiter, is in the 10th hexagram in the first line. There are always 6 sub-themes. And you can also see, for example, that on the conscious side, the personality Jupiter is in the 58th hexagram, 4th line. This 10 over here, here's the 10 over here, and you can see it's black and red because there's a 10 coming from the other side. It's a direct coding system. And in this particular chart, you just get the basic information in hexagrams and lines. If you look at the top, this is the founder of modern India. If you look on the right-hand side, it gives the birth time. If you look on the left-hand side, which is an earlier calculation, this gives you the moment that his personality crystal entered into a body. That is, when you have an individual rave chart, you have both your birth time and you have your design time. That is, you have the time that your soul entered the body. These two sets of information then get translated here into the body graph. And the body graph is very special because when you see the information coded in, certain things happen. The first thing that happens is if you look here, you can see that there's a gate open at the top, the 43. That's the sun on the right-hand side here, the personality sun. And you can see that the earth opens up to 23 at the other end. And this whole channel is colored in, and these centers are colored in. This is called definition. Think of this as a circuit board. Whatever circuitry is running, whatever circuitry is always moving, drawn in this way, this is what can be trusted. It's there 24 hours a day. It's there all the time. It's always there. It's the only thing that a human being trusts. When you look at this drawing over here, you can see that this isn't colored in, and this isn't colored in, and this isn't colored in. This is the heart center. This is the ego and the willpower. This is the emotional center, the solar plex center. Here at the bottom, this is the root center, our adrenaline center, our kundalini center. They're not colored in. They're not connected. This human being is always going to live out what he's not. Human beings never live what they are. They never live their definition. They only live their conditioning. These centers that are not colored in, these are the centerings where our conditioning takes place. Take the example here of the solar plex center. This is the emotional center. And you can see that this emotional center isn't colored in. But there's a possibility over here to connect it, and there's a possibility over here to connect it, and over here. And the moment that that emotional center is connected, whether by another person or by a planet, that emotional system is opened up and the emotions burst out. And this person doesn't know why. I'm like this person. I have an undefined emotional system. So I went through 35 or 36 years of emotional chaos because I'm a very rational being. And all of a sudden somebody would come along and they would just hook me up. Boom! Out pours the emotions, and people would say, oh, he's so emotional. But you know, it wasn't me. I was being conditioned by other people, connecting up those emotions. You know, I've sat with over 3,000 people now, professionally. Sit down beside them. Every once in a while, I have people come and sit down beside me. They're so emotional. And they put those defined emotional systems right into my body. And I can get butterflies in my stomach, and I can get knots, and I can feel very, very uncomfortable. Nothing you can do about energy. But you know, I know instead it's not me. I used to think it was always me. And the reality is that every single one of these centers, they are not empty, they are not broken, they do not need to be fixed. Understand that. They're just open. What's defined is fixed and can be trusted. But here, what is opened, this is where we get conditioned. All of us have been conditioned. Think about this human being as a baby. Comes into the world, they take him out of his mama, they put him on top of his mother. He's in her aura. We'll show you what auras do to human beings. In her aura. And the moment he's in her aura, perhaps she connects these emotions, stabilizes them, gives him the same emotional connection for his first 15 or 16 or 17 years. And then he leaves home. And the moment he leaves home, that conditioning is broken. The aura is broken. He doesn't have that energy anymore. First woman he meets that hooks up that emotional system, that's going to be the one that he says, aha, she makes me feel like who I am. And of course, it was never who he was. Never. If you have somebody who has an undefined ego, they're always looking for their courage. They're always looking for their willpower. If they have an undefined emotion, they're always trying to find their emotional stability. If they have an undefined root center, they're always looking for this deep adrenaline kundalini power. And they forget about the rest because they think something's missing. You're all like, none of you have ever lived your life. You live your conditioning. You cannot eliminate conditioning, but you can condition the condition. You can be wise enough to be clear about who is good for you and who is not. And that's really the work of the design system. It's not about stars. If I step into your aura, I penetrate you as deeply as if you were my lover. You pass a stranger in the street, they penetrate you that deeply. Live in an apartment building, get into your bed at night, and you got a wall beside you, and on the other side of that wall is somebody else sleeping in their bed, in their apartment, they're in your aura. I'm going to condition you. Human beings are living in aura boxes, constantly surrounded by other auras, not being able to recognize what is them and what is not them. This is the inspiration center. This is the head center. This is where inspiration comes through. Here's somebody who's open to inspiration, but the inspiration will always be conditioned by the outside. It's not this person's inspiration. It's inspiration that will come through. He has a defined ajna center. This is where we conceptualize. And this area of conceptualization is connected here to the throat center, which is the most complex. Anything that connects to the throat speaks. So here's somebody that can always speak. Always, always, always speak. If you have somebody who doesn't have that connection to the throat, if their throat looks like this heart center, they cannot speak. Those are the kind of people who want to speak as much as they possibly can. But they can't. They have to wait. They have to wait for the right people. They have to wait for the right energy. So here's somebody that can always speak. The mind is connected to the throat. The mind speaks. Here the instincts are connected to the throat. The instinct speaks. The sexuality is connected to the throat. The sexuality speaks. This throat center, this center of manifestation, it's more than just verbal. When the throat center is connected to one of the body's four motors, then the throat center becomes our center for action. This is somebody who is a doer. The four motors, the heart center, this is the motor of willpower. The emotional center, emotional power. The root center, the kundalini, the adrenaline motor. And here the sacral center, the sexuality. This sacral center is connected through the self, where the monopole is, that holds us together, our driver, that gives us our direction. And then in a continuous movement, it connects to the throat. This is somebody that can always do. There's two kinds of people. There's people who can do, people who have to wait to do. And That's the nature of the world. Those that are doers always do too much. Those who are not doers always want to do too much. It's just the way it is. It's one of the jokes in life. This is the higher self, the G center. This higher self is made up of two great crosses in the zodiac that point the corners of our seasons and the interregnums in between. It's the microcosm of the whole universe within us. It is love, in a sense. It's what holds us together. And this is the higher self. This is the higher self that knows what direction to take. Remember, it's the driver. It knows where it's going. So if you have somebody that doesn't have a defined G center, they do not know who they are. They will never know who they are, and they suffer from this mythology that everybody is supposed to know their one self. Not everybody can. The reality is some people can, some people can't. This is somebody that can always know themselves because this self always has an access here to the throne. It can always speak. It can always do. It can always express itself. This center over here, this is the splenic center. This is the body's immunity system. This is our protection from disease. It's our protection from bad vibrations. It cleans us out. Our center of well-being. This is somebody that can make other people feel good. He brings the power of this cleansing system into their life. If he didn't have this, he wouldn't feel good at all. Anybody who comes into a session, they have an undefined splenic system. And I say to them, you do not feel good about yourself. And they nod. What to do? By the way, anytime that you have a center that's undefined, the human design system has no morality. There is no good chart. There's no bad chart. There's no better chart. There's no worse chart. It's just games. Something to do with that. Everybody has their own design. Everybody has their own thing that they have to deal with in this life. These centers here, these are where we go to school. I have an undefined emotional system. You step into my aura, I know exactly what you feel emotionally. Exactly. Because whatever I feel emotionally when I'm with you, it's not me. That's not my business. So I just take it in. And now I don't let people into my aura that make me uncomfortable emotionally. I can feel it a mile away. The moment they just step in, these are windows. These are windows to protect you because wherever you have a lack of definition, all your life you've been conditioned there. The moment that you recognize that it's not you, the moment you stop identifying with that energy and saying, what's wrong with me? Instead of looking around you and saying, what's wrong with them? I do not teach people to love their neighbor. This is a very tough business. I tell them to love themselves. In order to love yourself, you have to accept yourself for what you are. There is no magic potion. There is no guru. There is no mantra. There is nothing ever going to change the nature of what you are. It's fixed until you leave this plane. And unless you accept your own nature, not only will you never love yourself, you will never really find love. Most human beings, what they call love, is simply being conditioned by somebody else, whether it's a positive conditioning or a negative conditioning. The reality here is that when you're looking at this design, what you can also understand is that if you take somebody else's design and you match this to this, you're going to see right away where things connect. These potentials, this channel here, this outside channel is the channel of talent. There's an enormous amount of information locked in here. There's a channel of talent. This 16th gate at the top, it has a double opening. It's coming from both sides. You can see it's from both the Plutos here. This 16 is the ancient Chinese hexagram of enthusiasm. It's a hexagram of music and dance and the arts. It's very creative. It's the gate of skills. And this gate of skills in this channel of talent, it isn't connected to the other end. This other end, the 48th gate, this is the gate of depth. This is where the instinct and the intuition builds its quality. So think about it. You have a little boy. He's got this 16th gate. And he's going out of school. And as he's going out of school, he hears a piano. And just as he hears that piano, the planet Pluto comes along and opens up the other end, the 48th gate. Pluto can stay in the gate 3 years. That's a very long time in a human time. So all of a sudden he hears the piano. And in the moment that he hears the piano, Pluto opens up the whole channel. And the whole channel of talent is opened up. And suddenly he feels very good because it's connected to his well-being. And suddenly his skills have the depth that he needs, the taste that he needs. And he goes inside and he says to the teacher, I'd like to play the piano. He goes home, he tells his mother, he says, I want to play the piano. She said, well, pianos are expensive. She said, well, go take lessons. Ask the teacher if you can have some lessons. He goes back. He takes the lessons. He gets very, very good. There. After about a year, the teacher calls up the mother and says, you should really get the piano because he's very good and he's going to be terrific. And so they decide, okay, let's get him a piano. They get him a piano. And he plays. Another 2 years, it's better and better. Then one morning he wakes up and Pluto leaves the 48th gate. And it's over. It's all over. Oh, it doesn't mean that he won't play the piano. It's like every once in a while, if the right planet comes by, if he's awake, it's during the time that he has a chance. Maybe later in his life, he meets somebody who has the other side and he rediscovers his talent for music. But what he thought was him is over. And think about what that does to your psyche because you do not know why. Evil is just ignorance. The greatest evil in the world is what people do to themselves. And it's just out of ignorance. What's he going to do with that? How is he going to explain that to himself? What happened to my talent? I don't want to play anymore. And what is his parents going to say? You should be practicing. It's gone. And all he's going to feel is guilt and shame and blame. He's just going to have to carry a heavy weight for nothing. It wasn't his fault. Life isn't anybody's fault. Life is just what happens.